So, we just finished the last of the magical triad. The magical triad being Yesod, Hod, and Netzach in reverse order. So, now it's time we talk about the sun. More specifically, the sphere of the sun, Tiphereth. So let's get into that, shall we? So, Tiphereth, sphere number 6, the beauty. This is the most balanced sphere on the entire tree. This sphere is the most balanced because, well, quite frankly, it is in the center. It is the centerpiece of the entire tree, and as such, a lot of people will tell you that it is the most important. That's wrong. They're all important in their own unique way. In fact, you could make an argument that Malkuth is more important. However, this is not entirely... It's very important, but just not the most important. They're all important. Lest ye become unbalanced. However, if you're going to focus on something that's not Malkuth, this is a pretty balanced place to be. It is the most balanced place to be. It is in the center of the tree, and as such, it connects to all of the other spheres sans Malkuth itself. Now, the interesting thing about this sphere is that this is the sphere that is most, like this, when you achieve this sphere and the knowledge of this sphere, two things are going to happen. One, you can call yourself an adept. You become an adept magician at this sphere. This is the sphere of the adept. There is a veil between Yesod and Tiphereth called the Veil of Paraketh. And basically, it's kind of an odd sphere, because the thing about it is all of the middle pillar has veils in between each of the middle pillar spheres. What do I mean by this? Well, let's look at it from bottom to top. So Malkuth to Yesod has the veil of material existence. If you believe that there is only the material plane, you are not going to be able to pass the path of Tau, and as such, you will only be able to get to the path. Well, you'll be stuck in Malkuth, actually, because you can't pass the path of Tau. And you can go on the side paths of Shin and Quaff, but that's kind of a weird one. So, for all intents and purposes, you're stuck in the path of... You are stuck in Malkuth. Excuse me. So, then you get to Yesod, and the path between Yesod and Tiphereth is blocked by the Veil of Paraketh. Now, it's important to note that the Veil of Paraketh is a little bit harder to pass than the Veil of material existence, because the Veil of material existence is just an illusion, but the Veil of Paraketh is where something substantial takes place. The Veil of Paraketh is, for all intensive purposes, a state of total balance. What do I mean by this? Well, if you look at where the Veil of Paraketh would be, on the tree, it would be where the paths of Samak and Peh cross. Now, we haven't talked about what the Path of Samak is. However, when we talk about it, it'll make a lot more sense as to why that's a problem. So what this is this is the place you are mimicking whenever you have your ceremonial temple set up. So if we look at it like this, right, you're in the exact center, okay? Above you, in front of you is Tiphereth. Behind you is Yesod. At your right is Netzach, and at your left is Hod. There is one place you can do this on the tree, and that is the cross-section of Paraketh, in between where Samak and Peh cross. Now, it's important to note that this is a very important place to be, because this is where we're going to do most of our magic from, and by doing so, we can control the entirety of the magical pillars, as well as interact with Tiphereth itself. Now, interacting is not being there, right? So I can go to a car, but I'm not driving a car if I'm in the passenger seat. So how do we get to Tiphereth? Well, for that we need to explain the paths connecting Tiphereth to the lower pillars, or the lower spheres. So, starting with the path of Hod to the Path of Hod to Tiphereth, we have the Path of Ein. Now, this is represented by the Devil card. And the Path of Ein is, for all intents and purposes, the best way to look at the Path of Ein is the understanding that God is irrational. What do I mean by this? Well, if you look at things from a purely logical perspective, you will find that you will not be able to answer all the questions. The best way to examine this is the problem of evil. And the best way to look at that, and so for anyone who doesn't know what the problem of evil is, the question is there an omnipotent, omnibenevolent, omni-knowing God? And if you answer yes, then you have to prove it because it's a philosophical debate. And basically it will fall into one of three traps. One, God is not omnibenevolent because evil exists and pain and suffering exist. Two, God is not omnipotent because he doesn't notice the evil exists. Three, God is not omnipowerful because he does nothing to stop the evil. Okay? Or if you believe free will, then God is omnipotent, therefore he knows that what we would do given free will, therefore everything is predetermined, therefore therefore free will is irrelevant. Something to that effect. And the correct answer to that problem is evil doesn't fucking exist. Boom. Evil doesn't fucking exist. Yeah, that sounds like a weird story. That sounds like a weird thing to say. However, you need to understand that, one, Hod is on the pillar of severity, so that means that everything Hod determines is going to be seen in a negative light due to the nature of where it is. So, example, Hod is positive or negative, however, logic and reason, if you look at most villains in a movie, the scientist can be evil or he can be good. Really depends. Now, going back to our discussion about the Path of Ein, you need to understand that you cannot logic bomb your way into understanding God completely. Some amount of faith is required. That's important. Now, where do we get our faith from? We get our faith from the Path of Samak. The Path of Samak is Yesod to Tiphereth. It is the path of temperance. We will get back to this one, because this one I want to talk about last. But just know that when we get here, it'll make a lot more sense if we talk about it after this. And the next one is the path of Netzach to Tiphereth, and that is the path of death. In order to get to Tiphereth from Netzach, a part of you needs to die. Now, what do I mean by this? Death is a transformational process. It is not a endings process. Well, it is an ending process, but it's a transition from one period to another. Now, why this is important is because in order to get from the lower triad to Tiphereth, you cannot pass through one of the spheres at a time. You need to pass through all three at once, which is where the Path of Samak comes in. The Path of Samak is the path of Jesus in the desert for 40 days. It is the path of putting yourself through an arduous process and having such rigorous faith that God will provide that you are going to go past that path regardless. It is a struggle to get through. However, it is worth it. If one does not do this, all three of the paths, the only place that they can get to is the Vale of Parokath. The Vale of Parokath is the single place you can get to without crossing all three of those paths, the path of the Devil card, the path of Temperance, and the path of Death, at the same time. And the easiest, most surefire way to do this is a little ritual known as the Abramelin. Now, the Abramelin ritual, I'm going to paraphrase this. I might do a video on the Obermelon ritual at a later date. However, it's important to know that the Obermelon ritual is way too overblown in occult circles, but here the paraphrasing is. It is a period of either 6 to 18 months, and every third is an increasing level of prayer and purification in anticipation of getting one's holy guardian angel. The holy guardian angel, once you are ready to get to the holy guardian angel, descends from Kether to Tiphereth and meets you at Tiphereth. It is the balancing force that will allow you to get to Tiphereth. Now, once you have achieved the KNC of your HGA, or the knowledge and conversation of your HGA, you will be a full-fledged adept, and at that point, all of your magic stops working. That sounds terrible. It's not. Here's why. The reason being, and this is, put on your tinfoil hats, this is a conspiracy theory at the moment. The reason that happens is because the angel stops letting your lesser magic work. You can still do magic. The angel will give you magic, and you can use it as a guide. However, the angel also gives you an incredible amount of magical power, and it will give you magical assistants, so to speak, that are specifically meant to do jobs for you. So the magic you'll be doing is more self-development, more following your passions, as the magic takes a bit of a backseat and is instead done purely through dealing with the entities that your HGA gives you, and those entities have sworn fealty to you as final part of the Obermelon. And as such, there is no problems. You're just going to be able to do this without a hitch, and it's going to be great. And that's how you do the Obermelon. It's not a big deal, but I'm really paraphrasing. If you'd like to do the Obermelon, please read the book. Please read the book on how to do the Obermelon. I'm not going to explain how to do something you can find in a public domain book. I'm pretty sure it's public domain. You can find it, get a copy, just read it, just get the PDF if you need to. It's a complicated ritual that it deserves its own video in and of itself. However, I'm not qualified to do that quite yet. So, what happens when you're actually at Tiphereth? You become the most balanced motherfucker on the planet. That's it. You become balanced. You are the balanced. You are so balanced that people will look at you and they will be like, "Oh shit, he's got some shit going on. He's balanced." In a kind of spiritual sense. This is the reason why people look at you like, if you get to the path of Tiphereth, you are following your purpose and passions so hard that it really doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're following your passions and your purpose and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's about it. That's basically Tiphereth. This has been our little quick talk about Tiphereth. Hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you dislike this video, please leave a dislike. If you have any comments or thoughts, please leave it in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to see more content from me, please subscribe. I have been Dave from the Amateur Magus, signing off. Have a good day. And try to enjoy the sun if it's out when you're watching this. Try to enjoy the sun. It's good for you.